this right here. Like here. Hello. Yeah, you got it. Good. How are we doing? How are we doing? Good? Good?
Good.
Well, however good we're doing, I'm going to invite you guys just to take a deep breath and get in this moment. Be here with me. I'm ready. And I hope you guys are ready to listen. You can put whatever it is going on aside just for a little while, at least. Here I am, Lord. Be with me. Let my words be yours, God. And help everyone to learn from my experiences, my testimony, what I have to share, God. And I'm going to be in your hands, God, and be with me, God, as I share this tonight. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I'm taller. Sorry, I got to adjust it again. All right. So these usually start out with like a few photos, right? So I've got a few that I'll just go through. This corner right here. So this corner, we got myself, obviously, with my roommate Hunter. Roommate Yowie's going like this right here. And then Jason and Jax, who are not rooming with me this year, but they're super awesome and great friends. Bottom right corner, we've got my whole family, my mom, dad, my sister. Center photo is kind of goofy. It's two of my friends from band listening to my stomach because I was like pretending to be pregnant at the time. You know, it's kind of, you know. Bottom photo is a great picture of a group of guys over the summer who we became really good friends, and we were just there for each other, you know, especially during COVID. Like, it was just refreshing to just have that. Bottom right photo is right before we went on our trip recently. You can see my aunt and my uncle right there. The top right photo, I can only get so many of you to picture, I mean, but this was an awesome photo of just everyone there. I love that picture of Austin, just that expression going, you know. All right, so I want to motivate my speech a little bit. Let me show you where I'm coming from. So let me ask you this. Do you ever struggle to pray in a group setting? Like maybe you want your words to be good enough? Or maybe how about like when you're alone? You know, do you feel like your words are okay, are they enough? Does it take a cardboard sign to make you even think about something like giving? Are you ever hesitant to sing in a worship setting because you don't think you sound good? Are there relationships in your life that you're not satisfied with? And do you smile at people when you pass them by on the street? Maybe one of those things I said stuck out to you, and maybe more. But there's a lot of ways in which we can feel inadequate or not good enough. And what's important is that if these things happen to relate to our walk with God, we can find ourselves feeling confused and really unempowered. I could have really chosen to talk about something related to one of my gifts, like maybe leadership or exhortation, but instead I want to share something I've struggled with. And I think that's going to be more. So tonight we're talking about worthiness. Yes, worthiness. What is that? Maybe you're like, oh, I know what that is, but like, are you going to give a definition? No, I'm not. Because I'm going to give you a Bible verse instead. We're going to show you what this means. And we're starting at John 13, 4 through 9. If you'd like to look up these verses, feel free. I'm going to have them all on the screen, though, except for this one. Because, you know, I wanted the picture to say 1,000 words. All right, this is when Jesus and his disciples were at the Last Supper. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I'm doing, but later you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you shall never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon Peter replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." So what Peter was asking was, "Lord, you can't do this for me." "For me? Really? Not for me, Lord. You can't do this. You have to do it for, you know, someone else maybe. I'm not worthy of your, like, serving me. I'm not worthy of everything you've done for me. How could I be?" But Jesus doesn't say, "You're right," because in a sense, Peter was right. He says to him, "Unless you let me wash you, you have no part with me." So there's times when I've felt like, should I let him, do I need to let him wash me more? And maybe you felt that at some point too. So I slowly realized that it was me, myself, that was holding back my faith in some regards, right? Like if you're thinking about your faith, like, and if it's growing, if it's not growing, you're like, who is it? Who's that person that's holding back me? And guess what? It's right here. It's me. So how did this happen? When did I start thinking that maybe my ideas about God were like second class? When did that happen? Here's a story from last year. I remember joining a lead team meeting, and I was joining via Zoom, and I was walking there. And while I was walking, I was passing people by. And I caught myself turning down the conversation as I was walking by. And I thought, really? Like, I'm supposed to be one of the leaders of CBF, and I'm ashamed to have conversations about Christ? I can often see people like Emma or Reagan. They go around wearing shirts that just say Jesus in big letters. It's great, but I can still struggle to do that sometimes. Matthew 10:33 states this: "But whoever disowns me before others, I will disown before my Father in heaven." That's pretty harsh when you consider the ways in which you've disowned Christ, if that's you. I thought I wouldn't do this. And I still find myself without that extra boldness. How do I get that boldness? I want whatever it is. Like, let me be, like, show Christ, So I've got, to illustrate this concept of worthiness, I've got a quick little, actually after this, yeah. When you ask yourself, am I worthy? Am I a good disciple? There's so many other things you could fit there. Am I a good man, woman? Am I a good friend? Am I a good son? I wouldn't ask if I'm a good daughter, but am I a good father? I wouldn't ask that yet either. But any of those things there. But I'm going to focus on, am I a good disciple? Am I worthy? Well, you can answer that yes or no, right? Yes? No? So I've got this little quiz here. And I know you don't want a quiz because it's Friday and you want to be done with quizzes, but this is just going to be a little tiny short one. So I'll ask you these questions. What do we want to do? Love, hate, provide, depend, trust, retain. What do we want to be? Do we want to be tolerant? Do we want to be intolerant? Do we want to be strong? Do we want to be weak? Do we want to be wise? Do we want to be foolish? Maybe just think to yourself for a second. Maybe like circle it mentally in your head. So I'm going to show you the right answer in a second. Ready? Or at least the answers that I think are correct. Which are the right answers, by the way. All right, whatever you were thinking in your head, was it this? I see Luke nodding his head. He's like, oh, man. Maybe you got it right. So why did I circle everything? Love and hate. You want to love people. You want to love God. But what do we have to hate? We have to hate what is evil, right? We want to provide for people, every way we can. But at the same time, we also need to be dependent on people, on God. We want to trust people, right? And trust God. But sometimes there's things we should not place our trust in because we need to be placing our trust in something else. What do we want to be? We want to be both tolerant and intolerant because when we're tolerant, we are accepting of other people, we're ready to receive them. But there's some things we can't tolerate because they're not good, they're evil. We have to be both strong and weak. You want to be strong, right? I'm strong in my faith. I'm strong, with my whatever it is. But at the same time, we have to be weak, right? We have to be like humble. We have to be feeling that God is so much stronger. We have to be wise and foolish, in my opinion. That's kind of a controversial one because the Bible says don't be foolish. But at the same time, you want to be wise in your walk with God. You want to seek that knowledge and gain that understanding. But at the same time, how foolish are we compared to God and to God's words, God's ways? It's a personal principle of mine to never be the smartest guy in the room because then you have absolutely nothing to learn. Now, if I present you with this concept of worthiness, do we need to be worthy or do we need to be unworthy? As you might be able to guess, it's both, right? It's both. So I think you should start using and more often. We need to be worthy and unworthy when you answer some of these questions about your walk with God. And I want you to choose God's wisdom rather than one side of this binary choice that you might see presented here. Because sometimes this wisdom of God, it is in the middle here. There's two things that's going on. We have to be more than one. A lot of concepts in the faith are like that, right? So here we go. This is what I'm using for a diagram. I'm using the yin-yang symbol because it's sort of a light and dark thing going on, right? We sang about it a little while ago. We say this: two wonders here that I confess, my worth and my unworthiness. Kind of rhymes, kind of sounds nice, you know? That's why it's in the song. And I mean, like, you've got these concepts that are they at war within yourself, or are they harmonizing within yourself, right? If we're more unworthy, we might be more inclined to feel humility, right? Because like I'm so much less. I'm so right there. I'm like low. You might be more inclined to fear God because, you know, if you're unworthy, like God is so much greater, and you have that respect for Him. You might be dependent on God because, you know, you just need Him, right? You might be more inclined towards mercy because how much are you in need of mercy? And you might be more inclined towards gentleness because there's nothing in you that's ready to go, ready to punch through everything. Now, if we feel worthy, on the other hand, we might be inclined to freedom, the freedom that is in Christ, the power that comes from knowing the Spirit. That one's big. That one's big. Like, there's so much power from God, from Christ. It's crazy. We might be more inclined towards wisdom because if we have the knowledge of Christ, we come to realize how wise we are with that knowledge. The Spirit is something that will come to dwell on us when we realize we are worthy. We are the chosen. We are the elect of God. Something like joy. If you have that worthy feeling, then that's something that cultivates within yourself. And generosity. If you have something, you are ready to give. So then how do we put these two ideas together, right? There's two things. Every Christian should try and understand the ways in which we're worthy and the ways that we're not worthy. You know, it's something that I hope all of you take the time to work through, think through, whatever it looks like. Maybe it's from this, but maybe something else, because we need to feel both worthy and unworthy. But most importantly, Christ is worthy. And Christ is the answer to what we've been looking for. Jesus is worthy. Duh, right? Of course. Now, if we are faithless, He remains faithful, for He cannot deny Himself. All those things you're trying to do, all those things you think you're not good enough, you know, however good you are, that's not what matters. Because if we have Christ, He can't deny Himself. He's here, and so, like, He's ready to accept me. He's ready to call me worthy. So then, therefore, if we have this knowledge that Christ is worthy, then I want to be more like Christ, right? Let me seek righteousness and abandon my wicked ways. Like every psalmist ever said that. Like, that's all of them. Like, go read it. Like, and also smart people say that, like me, you know. So then, once we have that knowledge, we need to make some sort of change, right? Let's get ready to write a better story, one that's centered on God. It's not centered on myself. It's centered on God. It started with death, but it continues toward greater life, and that life is found in the Spirit. So how are we going to write this story? I've composed a few elements of, like, what's in the story. What are some of the ways in which we need to, you know, make those changes if you're motivated to make some sort of change ever in your life? It starts with the training arc, right? Yeah. Everyone needs a good training arc now and then. And everyone's got to start somewhere. Wherever you are, you got to start. We're not training our muscles as much. We're not training our brains. I know you guys do that all day, all week. But we're training our hearts. It's something that we have to practice, right? We have to get good at being loving, being kind. And it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy at all. But the rewards are so great, so great. And I found this to be true, that better is the one who's training harder than the one who's really experienced but really complacent. It's about where you're going, not where you've been. And you want to know what the training is? Like, I'm not going to stand here and recite the Bible to you. Like, go read the book. Like, you can do it. I bet. You know? Now, next we have the childhood flashback. of course. That's also in the story. So I'll ask you this. How do you raise a child? You look at me like, Tim, I'm 19. What the heck are you talking about? I don't know how to do this. Well, then I ask you, how do you raise a child of God? I think maybe you can answer this question better. Because when we approach God, we have to approach God like a child, right? You have to have that childlike faith. So what does that mean? How do we raise a child of God? Anyone want to answer? How do we raise this child? Who is this child? Where is he? How do we raise him? Any ideas? Any ideas?
You teach them and correct them when they're wrong, but then you also show them love, and there's three things. I forgot the third. But love and correction are really important. And then there's a third thing that's important that I don't remember. But yeah.
That's right. That's very right. Any other ideas? Yeah? That's good. That's very true. What I'm thinking of as well is, if you want to train your kid how to, be more honest, right? You're going to teach them to be honest little by little. Over time, it's got something that's got to develop, right? You can't just say, hey kid, be honest, and then they're going to go and do it, right? No, that never works. Or if you're going to teach them anything, something that's taught, it has to happen over and over again. It's got to happen every day, little by little. These verses here highlight what I'm saying right here. From Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. And also, these commandments that I give you today are to be on your hearts. Impress them on your children. Talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down and when you get up. That's from Deuteronomy. And then next in the story, something breaks down. Because something always has to break down. And it makes the story more interesting, right? But God could be that one guy that just knows how to fix everything. He just knows whatever it is we need, it's just there. So we might ask the question, what kinds of things don't break down, right? What kinds of things are there, built to last? These are the things that we need to find and we need to put our trust in. And you can use those things to build yourself to last too, through whatever it is that you're facing. I know, here's my friend Luke over here. He's just arrived on Dagobah and he's stuck, right? And after he's stuck, who's going to help bring his X-Wing out? It's going to be Yoda. And what Yoda does is he brings, I hope you guys have seen Star Wars, right? He brings it out using the power of the Force, and he proves to Luke that the Force is so strong. It blows his mind at the time. But at the same time, it can blow our minds when God impacts our life in dramatic ways and changes us. My favorite verse of the Bible is this right here. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Those are some of the things that are built to last, but I hope you can find some others. Now I'll ask you these questions. How close is God? Where is God? Right? You might say, well, I accepted Christ, he's right here, right? But for someone that isn't in the faith or is new to the faith, God can be that idea of an old man in the sky that's looking down and ready to shoot a lightning bolt at us or something, or dictate us, right? But for someone that's really strong in their faith, God is someone that's super close. It's like your breath. If he's your friend, if you're companion, he's right there. So I'll make this claim that there's a correlation between closeness to God and faith. As we grow stronger in our faith, we feel God closer. And he's more someone who's known. We can know God. And knowing God is something that makes us feel worthy. Now, which parts of me are worthy or unworthy, you might ask, if I'm thinking about worthiness. It's those parts that I think will draw God closer to me. And those parts of me, maybe it's sin, maybe it's something that you're hiding from God, but those are the kinds of things that we're ready to hide away from him, whereas he's ready to accept us for who we are. We have to bring those things to light in order for us to bring God closer. Yeah. Now let's take a step back, because Tim, this is a lot. You've told me a lot. It's so exhausting. but you really got to do it. You really got to, like, you got to figure out what it is. You might say, is there an easier way to do all these like training things and stuff you're talking about? Like, and there is, but we're going to get there. We really got to get there. You might say, but I don't have to be a super Christian. You know, some other people are super Christians. I don't need to be a super Christian. Why would I dig deeper? Why would I seek to know God more? Why would I seek to be a better disciple? Why would I seek to be worthy? And I'm going to ask you that, are you sure that you don't need to be this super Christian? It says here, be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. Oh, wow. Geez, like that's like there, and I'm like there, right? And that's a standard that I could never possibly meet. But it's not saying be perfect. So saying you have to reach for that height of being perfect. Now, yeah, we're never gonna make it there. We're not even gonna get close. But like you should still pursue that as if you're going for it. You gotta even try. Even though the standard is so high and so impossible, like you should really get after this. Like this is like one of the most important things that we need to realize is that the standard of God does not say do your best, because it says if you don't even know how good you can be once you start to realize like what the Spirit could do with you, right? You don't even know yet. So be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. I've got some other verses that I wanted to share and talk through that are kind of on point here. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be satisfied. That pretty much sums up everything I've been talking so far. You got to stay hungry. You got to really dig for it. You got to be thirsty for righteousness, and then you'll be satisfied. That's our promise to us. Another verse. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. That's from Romans 12:1. The book of Romans is like the worthiness book. Like, I'm so glad the girls are reading through it because like you learn so much about what it means to be a good, worthy disciple from that book. I could have picked out any number of places. Like Romans keeps going on to talk about what love is, what true love is, and how you need love. And there's just so much to say there. But when we think about this verse, we think about us as a living sacrifice. You know, are we being like that thing that we can just present to God as it is, and can we present ourselves to God in the best way we possibly can, right? We want to strive to do that. And this third one, if anyone comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even their own life, such a person cannot be my disciple. I think that's probably one of the harshest things right in the whole Bible, because it's asking so much of us. It's asking us to put our own life in such a low position. It's asking to put the people that we think would be so important to us in such a low position. And I've wanted to, like, you know, since I'm doing sort of okay during like COVID time, I've wanted to like share like some secret like to people like that are maybe suffering more than I am. I'm like, what can I say to them that will help them like feel better? And I don't have an answer for you, and I wish I could share something that would like solve all your problems, but all I have is an inclination that I don't have a very high opinion of myself, kind of more in line with this verse. And if I don't have that opinion, then that opinion wouldn't be taken away from me when we might have to put something aside, like during COVID times, during the pandemic, right? That's the only inclination I could share with you. I wish I had more to give you to help you personally, but I think you should have a very low opinion of yourself in keeping with this verse. Now let's change gears a little bit. We're talking about worthiness, right? What are the kinds of things that might make us feel worthy or make us feel unworthy? Now, I've written 5 down here. There's plenty of things. But let's start with beauty, right? Like, girls and guys, girls, like, they have to worry about it so much. Like, oh my gosh. But guys have to worry about it too. Like, you know, do we have big muscles? Do we have, like, great looking hair? Do we have, you know, whatever it is that makes us feel insecure or, like, less than someone else? But I'll tell you this about beauty, is that true beauty is found in the person of Christ. And that's because Christ was able to find beauty in other people. even the lowest of people. He recognized some value in other people. Intelligence, man. We go to a school where there's a lot of smart people. Oh my goodness. And sometimes you can find yourself comparing like your intelligence to someone else. Maybe you want more of it. Maybe you feel like you don't have enough of it sometimes. Maybe you got that test grade back and it's just, wow, it's just so bad. But really, who's got the real intelligence? Is it? It's God. It's not us. So we should always remember that we're not the ones that are smartest in our life. It's God. Wealth, oh man. Money talks, man. It's sometimes not even the amount of money you have. Sometimes it's the amount of money you're gonna have, right? It's that pursuit of wealth. And wealth is something that like can set people apart based on their entire like condition of living. It just dictates like everything you have access to, everything you can possibly like really like want, like your like everything you could invest in, like just so many more doors open with wealth. But we know that the true wealth is not found in this world. It's found in heaven in the future. And it's found in good deeds as well. Power, ooh, power. I'm looking for a job soon, and I'm hoping that, like, you know, eventually I'm gonna start out like the low man maybe, but then I'm gonna rise from the ranks, and then I'm gonna have like the best job, you know. Am I gonna be the best someday? Maybe, maybe not. But in terms of power, who's got power? It's not me, it's God. God's power far surpasses any power that could be found on this planet. The last thing I said was people. And sometimes that's the hardest one because people can make us feel worthy or unworthy. You know, like I think of like probably one of the hardest examples is maybe a woman who is trying to get pregnant and failing and seeing other people happy. And sometimes just seeing other people happy just brings so much sadness to yourself. You feel like you're less than something. You feel like you need to, you wish you were able to do something. But other people, not even from their actions sometimes, you can just see success and you wonder, what do I have to do to get that? Why do I not have that? But what are all these 5 things really? This was the Scooby-Doo villain and I'm gonna take the mask off. What is this really? What do all these 5 things have in common? They're all forms of desire, right? They're all things we can desire. And desire is something that can really corrupt the heart. What our desires should be is for God. Because when we replace our worldly desires with desire for God, that's how we attain the pureness of heart. And we leave these things behind in pursuit of something greater, some greater desire. It's really hard to suppress desire, but it is much easier to replace it with God. This is the part that I've been dreading talking about because I didn't have any notes planned. And I was just going to say what it felt me say like. There's never been a time when I felt less worthy than this past summer, finding out about Jeff. It's hard to imagine like the impact that he's had on so many people. The things that I wish I would have done, I wish I would have said. I felt like, man, what kind of third, fourth rate disciple lets something like this happen to his buddy? How could I accept myself knowing that I didn't do what I was able? I felt like I could have done more. I felt so many things. I felt like, oh, what should I have done? What should I have known? I was confused. I was angry. And I don't know how to just, I can't put the words, I'm not a kind of person that can just vocalize all their emotions that well. But I was certainly feeling a lot. I was in like one of the lowest places that I've been because it was so instantaneous and I was like blindsided. But then somehow you need to understand why God would do something like this. It's so hard to accept, and it's something we wish we knew. It's something we need to wish we knew. If it's true that God works all things together for my good, how? Like, what? Maybe it's something else in your life. What is it? What is it that God works together in your life for your good? Like, how is this gonna make me better? Like, I can't understand. I can't understand. We all go through a lot of things in life. I've got an example of two dudes here. Sometimes I turn back to examples that I'm familiar with in order to gain a better understanding of my present situation. These two dudes here, what do they have in common? They're both old. No, that's not the answer I'm looking for. They both are mysterious. They both are confusing. What if I showed you this? And what if I showed you this? Both of them went through something that, quite literally killed them, but also they went through trials. We've got so many trials in our life that are thrown at us that we're not prepared for, but they make us stronger. They make us appreciate what we have more, right? The line from Obi-Wan is this: strike me down and I shall become more stronger than I have ever been. He's knowing this ahead of time. He's somehow ready for his own death. Like that's a bizarre thing that I don't even think George Lucas even knew what he was doing when he said those words. Anything I've talked about today shouldn't really be that surprising, Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law? And Jesus replied, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Matthew 22, 36 through 40. So that's what our standard is. That's the big one, right? All your heart, all your soul, all your mind. And having these two verses shows us the first part of what I was talking about in this first commandment. The second part I was talking about, I'm going to get to that soon. But I hope this also answers this question. Which parts of me are worthy or unworthy? If there's a part of you that can contribute to these commandments, love the Lord your God and love your neighbor, it is worthy. It is very worthy. But I want to talk to you about that second commandment right here. That's the one I really want to hone in on. So here we are. The number one Christian strategy to become more worthy. You've got your brothers and your sisters. Yes, we can encourage one another to be better people, to grow and to love and to seek the answers that we need. We can do it together. We can. I think that music as well can be kind of uplifting in the same way that encouragement from someone can, right? When you hear the right songs, it can raise you up to be greater than you were. I've turned to music so many times just to find whatever it was I was looking for. Sometimes I found it, that good worship song that hits right, just hits so right. And when you think about it, in the same way, it's someone talking to you, encouraging you where you are. It's something that you need in that moment that's really there for you. So someone who's seen this movie, tell me the line from this movie, from this scene in this movie.
I can't carry that ring. I can carry you.
Yeah, I love that too. I can't carry it for you, Mr. Frodo, but I can carry you. And that's what's right here. So it's enough. It's one thing to say all these things. I could end my speech there and say, love God, love other people. But it's another thing to put them into practice. So I want to say this to you right now. I believe in you. I really do. Yeah, I really, really do. When was the last time that someone said that to you? How long has it been? But here's a better question. When was the last time you said that to somebody else? Has it been a long time? Has it been yesterday? I want to say this to you now. I like your ideas about God, and I want to hear them. And you can do it, and you'll get through it, and it will get better someday. And I personally will be there for you as much as you need. Right? So now I want everyone to take a look around. Look. I'm coming out here. I'm not going to stand up there. No. Come over here, look. Look at all these faces. And Yahweh. It's my brother. It's my brother. Take a look at how much value there is in this room. Can you see it? Can you really experience it? Ryan, if you want to move the camera, sure, but yeah. That's awesome. Hello, future. Can you really understand the value that we have in each other? Do you see this? Does it affect you? Does it affect how you are? Right? Because we're not growing individually, we're growing together. Is this CBF, is this some sort of training wheels church? Or is this an organization that really cares for people and really is willing to go the extra mile? Right? I hope that we can establish ourselves in love and community and be there every step of the way for one another, right? We want to do whatever it takes for other people because I asked earlier, how close is God? I can see God. I can see God in these people here. And so when I might want to appreciate God, I can do it by appreciating the people here, right? Because God is in the heart of every believer. Looks like he's being motivational. He's getting over here. Ooh. God is in the heart of every believer. And by taking care of one another, we can show our true value as Christians. We can show that we place value in one another. It's hard for us to find value in our own self, but it's really, really important that we find value in other people. Because we can see each other, we can be with each other, we can help each other through whatever it is. Thanks for listening to my speech on exhortation. What, you thought about worthiness? No. This is my gift. This is what I have. I lied in the beginning to you. I'm sorry. I'm talking about this. You ask, how much can we discipline ourselves? Maybe a little. Like sometimes, we're gonna stumble and fall. The rest of that is going to come from our brothers and sisters who are there for us. So let us strive to be there for others in any way we can. Any way we can. Now, exhortation is a big word, right? You might not know what that means. That means encouraging on a spiritual level. Like words of encouragement, lifting people up. Lifting people up is so important. And I'm wondering, are we ready to lift people up? Do we feel that motivation because we ourselves want to be lifted up and we are ready to lift up others? The last thing in my speech, I know we've been talking a while, but the last thing is I want to read this. This is adapted from the prayer of St. Patrick. Sometimes we read at the end of service at Journey. If you feel led, please read this with me. Christ with me, Christ before me, Christ behind me, Christ in me, Christ beneath me, Christ above me, Christ on my right, Christ on my left, Christ when I lie down, Christ when I arise, Christ in the heart of everyone who thinks of me, Christ in the mouth of everyone who speaks of me, Christ in every eye that sees me, Christ in every ear that hears me. For me to live is Christ. For me to live is Christ. I want to thank you all for helping me feel more worthy. And I hope you have a great evening.